Hi, Bret. This is Nathan. I've done some minor typesetting work on your book so you can get a feel for how long the book is going to be so you can share that information with the person that's doing your book cover. Basically, what I did was set the text in a 7.5 by 9.25 inch trim size. Now we're viewing it on what used to be an 8.5 by 11 size page in PDF. I cannot export it in that custom size into PDF. So what I've done is approximate what the book is going to look like, and this is not exactly what the book's going to look like, but approximately. It's the right page number. The approximate size is the margins are kind of off. You have a little bit more margin over here and a little bit less margin over here, because the whole thing is going to be set off just a little bit to the left with respect to this page. So what I'm going to do is I remove the first page because the pages are set off just a little bit, and Adobe adds a page from the perspective of what we're doing, and it throws off the left-right setup. So what I'm going to do is go to View, Page Display, two-page scrolling, and we're going to view it as if we were viewing a book. So let me go ahead and turn off my navigation on the side. And we get a feel for what the book looks like. And I don't know if I can turn off that other side thing. Yeah, I don't know how I hide this stupid thing, but I'm going to scoot it over just a little bit. Now, this middle part is where the binding goes, and if you remember when you open a book, this massive thing, when you open a book, there's a little hump in the middle where the binding goes, and you don't want words way down here in the binding. So you have more space right here, usually, than on the sides. But as reviewing it now, because of PDF view, it doesn't look exactly like that. But that's why there's a lot of space here in the middle between the left and right pages. And I've tried to get it to where, if you can view this, the inside margins of the text, where the text begins, right here on the sides, I want it to be able to, the book to be able to lay flat, and it's going to have those little humps on the side in the middle of the book, and then the words start clean right at the top edge of that fold in the book. So I've done a lot of measuring, and this is the best I think it can look. So I wanted to choose a little bit bigger page trim size because I usually do 6 by 9, which is the size of a little bit bigger size than the usual novel. Not those little bitty airport novels, but it's a good size, and it's what my book was published in, and what I usually do for both fiction and nonfiction. But with a smaller size for you, it's not good because you're just going to have pages and pages of one column of poetry, and that's hard on the reader. So I added an inch of width and about an inch length to get more words on the page for you. And it's still a respectable length. It's 276 pages, which is a good, nice, thick book. It's going to be, competing. It's not like you're going to have a little booklet size book. So most people don't like that. You have. I didn't know if this was the title of the poem, the 8 symbols. Let me know about that. But all of your poetry I formatted in one of two ways. Basically double or single spacing. And I followed your appearance that you have in the Word document. I followed that whenever I formatted these poems. And all of the, from the perspective of Word, I think all of the line numbers are going to appear in exactly the same place no matter how wide the poetry is. So all of your numbers should appear at this 5.5 mark. So let's just scroll down a little bit. You have your introduction. The font that I chose is a font that I always use. It's Adobe Garamond Pro. It's a very popular, a beautiful font. It's a little bit better, I think, than using Times New Roman. Uh, you notice that the font's a little bigger for the parts. I don't have to do that. I can make it all consistent. And I want you to see this. This looks unusual to me. With the picture looks like it should be over here, and Word kicked it over because it doesn't really fit. So I need to make it smaller and put a caption on there if you want, or we can put it right there. Scrolling down, you'll see that I have your footnotes indented. That's what it is required by Chicago Manual Style for this style of book that you're using. First paragraph is always, I call this the first line of paragraph 1. It's always going to be without caps, without indentation, and the body paragraphs all are indented the same way. All of your poetry appears at abbreviated, not abbreviated, but indented at half an inch, and at a quarter of an inch rather than half an inch, so it all appears closer to the left of the page than your indentation. Now I did that for a reason, because sometimes your poetry is very long, and I wasn't able to fit either the poetry or the line numbers, and all these line numbers appear on the same part of the margin. So I was wondering if you wanted here on page 23 a title to this poem. Usually you have a poem title, and I made all of your poem titles appear at the same indentation, that 0.25 quarter of an inch right here along with your poetry, and I'll show you that. You need to add all of your bibliographic information for your web citations. Still a lot of cleaning up that needs to be done. Okay, you see possibility. The title of the poem is indented along with the text of the poem. So all of your poems appear like that in the text, except for one. Your poem at the very end of the book that you wrote for your wife is going to be approximated. It's going to look exactly the way you have it looking in the Word document. So here you'll note that I have these two things might need to be moved over to the right a little bit, but you see I followed your double spacing between each line, and you'll see the poetry all lines up. I didn't put a space between, I didn't put an empty line of space between the first line of a poem and the quote. Not the quote, but the whatever line you have last before poetry. I didn't put an extra line of spacing in there. That just muddled up the text big time. Now I don't like that this is all by itself, and we can do some kung fu to make that happen, make it a little bit better. There's some more poetry, so you'll see I never have a line space at the beginning, but I do put a line space afterwards. It looked a lot better to me, and I use that first line without an indentation. Sorry, this is going back and forth. My mouse is just nuts. So here you have Beowulf, and everything lines up. You have all these line designations are the same in the same spot, so you have a nice consistent look over the course of your pages. I have one line space between that and your commentary, and with your commentary I put a empty line of space between each section of commentary, so that way you don't have, whenever you have that line 3, if you had a line 4 right here, there would be a space in between each each line, and we might see that here in a second. See that there's a space. There's a space here between each line in the commentary. And you can see that very clearly here. You have 5, 6, and then line 8 and line 10. So I think that gave the book a very nice, consistent, clean look, rather than having this line in the text. You have this right up against the text that's previous. So that's one adjustment that I made. And you have title, poetry, just looking through this, so the only disadvantage for using this font, this Adobe font, is it's harder to see the setting of the, and I don't know if this is an error or not, I'm going to have to look, but it's harder to see bold. To my eyes, it's hard to see, a little bit harder to see the bold font in Adobe. But you can see it really nicely on this page. And I'm wondering why these W's are offset, but I can take care of that. So basically what I need you to do is look carefully through the book and see if you just like the general layout. If you like the general layout, you can go ahead and tell your book cover person that you have a page count, which is about 276, and make sure you ask them that there is a leeway, between how many pages can you add and how many pages can you subtract from that 276 number, and that'll guide us in our editing. So thank you again for choosing me. This is a wonderful book, and from now on we need to make all of our adjustments in this Word document. I can't, the time just came to do some preliminary formatting, and this formatting does not stay whenever you upload into Google Docs and then download back into Word. So we're going to have to work with this from here on out. So we work with it and then send it to me in email or upload it into Google Docs. I mean, not Google Docs, Google Drive, and I'll download it as a Word file, and then we'll go from there. So let me know if you have any questions, Bret. Bye-bye.